There are many, many, many myths that we believe in, that we accept, that we think are true. Myths galore. People base their lives on myths, unwittingly, many times, often. There's one myth that very few people know about. It's the myth that something or someone makes you happy. We are told by our mothers, by our teachers, if you do that, you'll be happy. Oh, look at that, that's made you happy. Oh, thank you, that's made me happy. It ricochets. Everyone is doing their best to be happy by making other people happy. The teacher will say to the pupil, if you do that, that will make me happy. The mother says to the child, don't do that, that makes me unhappy. Have you ever wondered what it is that we are before we are told that we're going to be made happy? And what we are before we're told that's going to make you unhappy? Do you understand what I'm saying? There you are, just being you, if that's possible. A mother comes along and says, do that, darling, that'll make me happy. Sorry, do that, darling, and that will make you happy. So what are you before you are made happy? Possibly we assume you are going to be unhappy. And what are you before you are made unhappy by someone or something? We assume you are happy. So if you are happy, what made you happy? And what is it that keeps the happiness? So you're presented with a lovely meal, and at the beginning of eating, you are happy. But are you continuously in that happy place while you're eating the meal? And then another occasion, you order a meal and it doesn't live up to your expectations. Are you unhappy while you're eating that meal? It's a myth that we're made happy. It's a myth that we're made unhappy. Although it feels that we're being made happy, and we might have a big smile on our face, my mother used to say to me when I was a teenager and early young adult, she would say, if I said something that she didn't like, she would say, you knew by saying that it would make me unhappy. And I didn't know. So we're being manipulated all the time by our siblings and parents and teachers and colleagues, and and you are also doing it. We're all emotionally blackmailing others to make us happy. And if something doesn't make us happy, or if someone doesn't make us happy, we let them know. Oh, don't do that again, otherwise it'll make him unhappy. Oh, shouldn't do that, goodness me, he'll punish you until I don't know what the phrases are, cows come home. And we're bombarded by adverts, bombarded by businesses. They want us to support them. They're controlling us. All these offers, buy one, get one free. All the reductions, all the supermarkets in competition with one another. They're all trying to win custom. Why? Why aren't they happy enough with their thousands and millions of pounds in their bank accounts? I heard today that if someone is given £1,000, they're made happy, but it would require, say, £5,000 next time to make them happy. And then it will require £12,000 to make them happy. £1,000 is not going to be enough each time. And a millionaire isn't going to be made happy by another million. So what's wrong with us when we're not being made happy or unhappy? What are we? What are we being when we're not happy? Are we really unhappy? And what are we when we're being really happy? And how long does that feeling of being happy last for? Is that really how we should live? This is a body-mind. And I'm in that place where I don't call it mine. It's a body-mind. I see it objectively. I see my hand. I see the blemishes. I see the scars. I see the whatever I see. It's not mine. That's another myth. The myth of ownership. But this myth about needing to be made happy, and if we're not being made happy, there's something wrong with the society, so we can blame and finger point. You go to school as a child and you get 10 out of 10, and you get 10 out of 10, and you get 10 out of 10, and then suddenly you get 9 out of 10. What's happened there? Did I not please teacher? Was teacher having an off day? Because I consider what I've done deserves 10 out of 10 again. So, is there a place that we can live from without the expectation of being made happy or unhappy by you and you and you and you and things? You know what it's like. You see a pen and it worked for you last time. You pick it up, it doesn't work for you this time. Frustration. Is frustration and disappointment a place of unhappiness? Is happiness the opposite to unhappiness? Before we were manipulated into believing that we need ticks and more ticks and gold stars, and then later on money and more money and more money, and constant lovely, lovely whatever we like to eat. Before all that, before we were conditioned into accepting that to be the norm, were we just simply okay? Is there a place, a disposition of the body-mind that is simply okay, requiring no stimulus, requiring no entertainment? Requiring no one, not relying on anyone to change our disposition. In the Bible, it talks about second birth. What is that all about? I'm not a Christian, but I do understand, and I've studied the Christian texts and writings of Jesus. And in one of the passages, it says you've got to be born again. Why was Jesus saying that? The man came to him, Nicodemus, basically asking, what is life all about? How can I simply be happy? And Jesus would say, you've got to be born again. Basically, just as I was saying earlier, it's a change of disposition. Something radical has to happen in the body-mind. Jesus also said, you've got eyes, but you don't see. You've got ears and you don't hear. Implying that we're not seeing as we could be seeing, and we're not hearing as we could be hearing. Again, true hearing and true seeing comes from a different disposition. So if you like, all that I've been talking about is the first birth stuff, the stuff of myths, the unenlightened disposition, the disposition where you expect others and things to make you feel okay, to stimulate you, to entertain you, to relieve you of your suffering, to relieve you of your dismay, to relieve you of feeling that you don't belong here, a sense of belonging. The first birth stuff is all about grabbing hold, getting hold. Oh, I like that person, he makes me feel happy, so make the most of him. Oh, don't like him, so avoid that person. So you're going through life full of stress and tension added to your daily life due to not having realized a greater disposition, a greater ability to see clearly and to hear clearly. enlightenment, living in that second birth disposition, frees you up. And it gives everyone permission to be as they are. You're not expecting anyone to behave in any certain way to make you happy anymore. You haven't got any issues with anybody or anything. You can make a phone call and ask for the cost of something. And if they say da 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 da, fine. You have no issues. That's them. That doesn't mean you won't phone someone else up. But you haven't an issue with what they consider to be not having an issue doesn't mean you aren't caring or discerning. You see clearly, but you're not emotionally upset. The second birth disposition is all embracing. The enlightened disposition simply allows. There's no sense of ego. There's no sense of contraction. There's no sense of me against you. It's a disposition. It's God-made. That's what Jesus was saying to Nicodemus. Be born again of the Spirit, which is God. And once we've realized that we are being lived, and I'm not living this body-mind, this body-mind is being lived by the Spirit that is God. That disposition is living in a place of already happiness with a capital H, which is stillness, which is a quiet mind, which is peace, which is all-embracing, which is intimate, which is love bliss, which is delight and joy. It's a disposition. Do you understand? A disposition that's neither created and can never be destroyed. But in our first birth stuff, we interfere with our true disposition, our true nature. And it's that interference that keeps us from switching over. That self-contraction, that ego. Just as Jesus said to the devil, "Get ye behind me." The devil was tempting Jesus, who was a man of God, who had realized God. But in the moment of doubt, he was contracting from God. and felt the devil in him, and felt in that one moment the possible need to buy into what the devil was offering. And that's what we're doing all the time, buying into the devil, buying into the myths. We suck it up because we don't feel already happy, already at home, already sufficient, already content. Once that disposition has been realized, you are living without the dependence of being made happy by others. You're no longer manipulating. The open hand represents the God disposition. The clenched fist represents the egoic disposition. The God disposition embraces all and all. The egoic disposition chooses this, that, or the other. The God disposition is always, always happy, with a capital H, an unconditional happiness. Whatever the circumstance, whatever is arising right now, this disposition feels pleasurable oneness. I love this phrase, pleasurable oneness with all that's arising, no matter what's arising. It's conditions. It's a conditional arising. Doesn't last long. Whatever is rising right now doesn't last long. In fact, every second there's a change. Even quicker. It's continuous change. Pleasurable oneness with all that's arising. But this, it decides what it wants to be pleasurized by. It decides what it wants to be intimate with. It's forever at loggerheads. It's forever toing and froing. It's dependent on being made happy. And when it's not made happy, it loves finger pointing. That's what made you. That's what made me feel unhappy. Always blaming. It's always a war going on. War. The clenched fist disposition, the first birth disposition, is never ever satisfied. Not even when it's satisfied is it real satisfaction. This disposition is neither perfect or imperfect. It just is. It just is. And you're no longer striving, no longer seeking. Life there, from this disposition, is a simple joy to live. You function easily and effortlessly. haven't got to do anything in order to uphold your image. There's no stress, anxiety. It's not a cop-out. Not at all. But it's a change of vision, a change of disposition. You still function, still got to do the usual everyday mundane things, washing up, cleaning, washing the clothes. Household bills have still got to be paid. But you don't add that requirement prevalent in the first birthplace of expecting to be made happy. That's a big difference. Thank you for listening.